Welcome to Dark Character Profiler. Take a deep dive into the background and personalities of villains from books, video games, manga, and comics. Psychological analysis of some of the most deviant and heinous characters of all time. Now, here's Fulcrum.
Hello and welcome. I'm Fulcrum. Before we get started, I wanted to plug my dad, Rich, who helped produce my show's intro and outro. If you're into actual musicians playing actual music on actual instruments, please check out the Never Ending Radio Show at neverendingradioshow.com. Timeless music, timeless principles, neverendingradioshow.com. Now, on to the episode. Imagine you are a new Genin rank ninja on an escort mission with Hatake Kakashi, the Jonin tasked with training you and your team, and suddenly you run into Momochi Zabuza. The sight of him, the demon of the hidden mist, was enough to strike fear in the hearts of most. His chilling aura, accentuated by his mask and the predatory glint in his eyes, made it clear that he was a force to be reckoned with. To know that you would have to face him in battle was a daunting prospect, a chilling realization that your life hangs in the balance. A mixture of terror, doubt, and perhaps a flicker of desperate hope consumes you. In Japanese culture, a person's family name, also known as their last name, comes first, and then their first name comes afterwards. Previously, I called Zabuza Momochi Zabuza, but for the sake of this episode, he will be referred to as Zabuza from here on out. Zabuza's first appearance in the Naruto manga series was during the Land of Waves arc, which started at chapter 9 and ended at chapter 33. Zabuza was from Kirigakure village, which was also known as the village hidden in the mist, or the Hidden Mist Village, or the Blood Mist Village. He graduated from the academy at age 9 years old. At one point, he became known as the Demon of the Hidden Mist. He was also a former Anbu member, also known as the Anbu Black Ops in the anime series. He was also part of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist at one point, and he wielded the Kubikiri Bocho, which is also known as the Executioner's Blade in the anime series. At one point, Zabuza attempted to mount a coup d'etat against the 4th Mizukage, who is the leader of the Hidden Mist Village, but his attempt failed. After the failed attempt, Zabuza became a rogue ninja, but still had confidence and pride in being a shinobi. He was proficient in taijutsu, ninjutsu, seals, stamina, speed, and strength. He had a ward or partner that was named Haku, and he died at age 26. This was just a brief description of Zabuza's character background before we move on to his personality and final analyses. Zabuza's personality traits are described as bloodthirsty, ambitious, heartless, confident, prideful, and he has a bold attitude. Before we delve into the psychological analysis, I want to provide you with a disclaimer. While I am not a licensed psychologist, I do have a Master of Science degree in forensic psychology. This allows me to offer a unique perspective on potential disorders based on the characteristics and descriptions of these fictional characters. Please remember, this is not an official diagnosis, but rather an interpretation of characteristics. All analyses were researched using the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. This disclaimer ensures we approach these discussions with the utmost respect and sensitivity towards mental health issues. At the end of the last episode, I posted a poll for everyone to guess the final outcome of Zabuza's psychological analysis. It was split evenly between narcissistic personality disorder, PTSD, and other. The final psychological analysis came out to be PTSD and schizoid personality disorder. Narcissistic personality disorder was ruled out due to Zabuza only meeting 3 of the criteria where at least 5 are required. Now, here's a breakdown of PTSD and schizoid personality disorder and why I attributed those two to Zabuza. The first analysis that we will go over is post-traumatic stress disorder. Note, the following criteria apply to adults, adolescents, and children older than 6 years. Criteria A is exposure to actual or threatened death, serious injury, or intimate violence in one or more of the following ways. 1. Directly experiencing the traumatic event or events. 2. Witnessing in person the event or events as it occurred to others. 3. Learning that the traumatic event or events occurred to a close family member or close friend. In cases of actual or threatened death of a family member or friend, the event or events must have been violent or accidental. And 4. Experiencing repeated or extreme exposure to adverse details of the traumatic event or events. For A, the first criteria applies the most because Zabuza was forced to kill other students for his final academy exam or be killed himself, and he ended up killing over 100 students. He was essentially put in a fight or flight situation, and he chose to fight. Criteria B is presence of one or more of the following intrusion symptoms associated with the traumatic event or events beginning after the traumatic event or events occurred. 1. Recurrent, involuntary, and intrusive distressing memories of the traumatic event or events. 2. Recurrent, distressing dreams in which the content and/or effect of the dream are related to the traumatic event or events. 3. Dissociative reactions, such as flashbacks, in which the individual feels or acts as if the traumatic event or events were occurring, such reactions may occur on a continuum, with the most extreme expression being a complete loss of awareness of present surroundings. 4. Intense or prolonged psychological distress at exposure to internal or external cues that symbolize or resemble an aspect of the traumatic event or events. And 5. Marked physiological reactions to internal or external cues that symbolize or resemble an aspect of the traumatic event or events. For this one, criteria 1 is the most applicable as he experiences flashbacks of the event where he was forced to kill all of the other students in his graduating class or be killed himself. Criteria C is persistent avoidance of stimuli associated with the traumatic event or events, beginning after the traumatic event or events occurred, as evidenced by one or both of the following. 1. Avoidance of or efforts to avoid distressing memories, thoughts, or feelings about or closely associated with the traumatic event or events. 2. Avoidance of or efforts to avoid external reminders, such as people, places, conversations, activities, objects, situations that arouse distressing memories, thoughts, or feelings about or closely associated with the traumatic event or events. So for C, criteria 1 is the most applicable because Zabuza is not trying to avoid external reminders. He actually stays in the village for an extended period of time and becomes a ninja, becomes an Anbu, becomes one of the 7 ninja swordsmen. So he's involved with the village extensively, whereas he tends to avoid the memories of the event that occurred. Criteria D is negative alterations in cognitions and mood associated with the traumatic event or events beginning or worsening after the traumatic event or events occurred, as evidenced by 2 or more of the following. 1. Inability to remember an important aspect of the traumatic event or events, typically due to dissociative amnesia and not to other factors such as head injury, alcohol, or drugs. 2. Persistent and exaggerated negative beliefs or expectations about oneself, others, or the world. For example, I am bad, no one can be trusted, the world is completely dangerous, or my whole nervous system is permanently ruined. 3. Persistent distorted cognitions about the cause or consequences of the traumatic event or events that lead the individual to blame himself or herself or others. 4. Persistent negative emotional state, for example, fear, horror, anger, guilt, or shame. 5. Markedly diminished interest or participation in significant activities. 6. Feelings of detachment or estrangement from others. And 7. Persistent inability to experience positive emotions. For example, inability to experience happiness, satisfaction, or loving feelings. For D, I identified 2 through 7 as being applicable. For 2, Zabuza often uses people as tools to be discarded later, and he believes that no one can be trusted. For 3, he blames the village and the 4th, Mizukage, for the event, and he attempted a coup d'etat against the 4th, Mizukage. 4, he has a persistent negative attitude about the world and often experiences anger. For number 5, he is definitely not experiencing much interest or participation in significant activities. 6, he's definitely detached or estranged from others. And 7, he's definitely experiencing a persistent inability to express positive emotions or experience positive emotions, especially happiness and love for another person. E is marked alterations in arousal and reactivity associated with the traumatic event or events beginning or worsening after the traumatic event or events occurred, as evidenced by 2 or more of the following. 1. Irritable behavior and angry outbursts with little or no provocation, typically expressed as verbal or physical aggression toward people or objects. 2, reckless or self-destructive behavior. 3, hypervigilance. 4, exaggerated startle response. 5, problems with concentration. And 6, sleep disturbance. For example, difficulty falling or staying asleep or restless sleep. For E, I identified criteria 1 and 2 as being applicable. Zabuza definitely is very irritable and has angry outbursts, and he is often expressing verbal and physical aggression toward others. And 2, reckless or self-destructive behavior. He is always getting into some kind of reckless situation, and he's always displaying some kind of self-destructive behavior. F, duration of the disturbance, meaning criteria B, C, D, and E, is more than 1 month. For this one, Zabuza has been experiencing this from age 9 until his death at age 26. G, the disturbance causes clinically significant distress or impairment in social, occupational, or other important areas of functioning. Zabuza's impairment is mainly in social areas of functioning, as he tends to distance himself from most people and uses others as tools that can be discarded later. And last is H. The disturbance is not attributed to the physiological effects of a substance or another medical condition. Zabuza's PTSD is not attributed to any other explanation other than what happened to him when he was a child in the ninja academy within his village. Now I would like to move on to the second analysis of schizoid personality disorder. Schizoid personality disorder is a cluster A personality disorder. And the criteria for it is A, a pervasive pattern of detachment from social relationships and a restricted range of expression of emotions in interpersonal settings, beginning by early adulthood and present in a variety of contexts, as indicated by 4 or more of the following. 1, neither desires nor enjoys close relationships, including being part of a family. 2, almost always chooses solitary activities. 3, has little, if any, interest in having intimate experiences with another person. 4, takes pleasure in few, if any, activities. 5, lacks close friends or confidants other than first-degree relatives. 6, appears indifferent to the praise or criticism of others. And 7, shows emotional coldness, detachment, or flattened affectivity. So I actually identified qualifying criteria for all 7 of these. And for number 1, I identified that Zabuza has no close relationships or family other than his ward, Haku, who he doesn't acknowledge as someone he cares for until Zabuza is dying. For number 2, I identified that the only person who goes anywhere with him is Haku, otherwise he is completely solitary. For number 3, Zabuza shows no interest in any kind of intimate experiences with others. 4, the only activity he takes pleasure in is fighting and killing for money. 5, while Haku does not have any first-degree relation to Zabuza, he is still Zabuza's only confidant. 6, Zabuza only accepts praise from Haku, and even then, he doesn't really accept the praise, he just expects it. And 7, Zabuza is pretty heartless, he's very confident, he's proud, and he has a bold attitude. The second criteria for schizoid personality disorder is B, does not occur exclusively during the course of schizophrenia, a bipolar disorder, or depressive disorder with psychotic features, another psychotic disorder, or autism spectrum disorder, and is not attributable to the physiological effects of another medical condition. Schizophrenia, bipolar, depressive disorder, or any other psychotic disorder or autism spectrum disorder is not applicable to Zabuza whatsoever. And with that, those are the only criteria that are required for a schizoid personality disorder diagnosis or analysis. And I believe, based on those criteria, that schizoid personality disorder fits Zabuza almost to a T. The next thing I will get into are some interesting facts that I found while doing my research on Zabuza. Some interesting facts that I found while doing my research on Zabuza were, one, that his birthday is August 15th and that he actually ended up dying at the age of 26. His last name, Momochi, is derived from produce and it means peach soil. His height is 6 foot and his weight is 158.7 pounds. He specializes in the hidden mist technique where he conceals himself in mist so that his opponent can't see him, and he uses speed and hearing to catch his opponent off guard, and then he kills them. He also wanted to fight the 5 Kage of the 5 different villages. His favorite word is control, and his hobby is sharpening edged tools. So those are just some interesting facts that I discovered while doing my research on Zabuza. And that's all I have for you. So thank you for listening, and I can't wait for the next episode. Bye. Your feedback is crucial. Do you agree or disagree with this analysis? Your comments on this episode or in the comments section for the Instagram or X profiles for the podcast are highly valued. Also, please like this episode and share it with your friends and family. The show's email address and social media links are provided in the episode description. All resources are also provided in the episode description. Don't forget to take a look at the poll at the end of this episode where you can vote on what you think the final breakdown will be for the next episode's villain. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you for listening to Dark Character Profiler with Fulcrum. Listen every other Tuesday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Podcasts.